What up, what up? It's your boy King Moses, aka Mike Malarkey, and we live on the porch. It's gonna be a new thing. I'm starting off trying to do this podcast, see how this goes, you know what I mean? Something new, but some things that's going on in the world that I just gotta start talking about, man. Trying to get some things off my chest, man, because I'm talking to a lot of my friends about some of the stuff that's going on or whatever, and it's just disturbing, man. But the whole concept of on the porch is, you know what I mean, just being relaxed, chill. I ain't out on the streets no more, you know what I mean? I've been out there. I'm happy to be on the porch, you know what I mean? And that's a goal that I think that a lot of young black men need to start trying to look forward to once they did their thing out and about. You know what I mean? Being able to get out on the porch and just sit back and relax and just reflect on the good times, you know what I mean, and have you a nice wife, or even if you don't have a wife, and you slow down, you can just just chill out, you know what I mean, being retired, at the end you start get tired or whatever, running out in the streets, and you got a lot of wisdom, you want to pass it on to somebody, and that's what I'm hoping that this thing that I'm trying to do now help some of the youth, these boys that's coming up with her, because I see a lot of crazy stuff going on out here that is no good wisdom that's being passed on, and it's starting to get worse and worse as far as like, these people doing crazy things, making bad decisions and all that. I'm gonna get more in depth into it once we get past the mark, start really getting into it. But it's a lot of simping going on. It's terrible. A lot of loafing. A lot of dudes falling for some gypsy shit out here. And I'll get into all that terminology. Some of this is going to go over y'all heads, but it's just too much, man. And it's just frustrating because, I was just fortunate enough just being out in the streets. I learned from experience. And I could have went one way or another. I could have been a simp, you know what I mean? But thankfully, I did not end up that way. I ended up being smart, strategic, and being able to not get taken advantage of, and being able to do my thing, move with code and honor and some ethics, and hopefully these dudes start doing that now when they get out of here. So, yeah, that's the plan. So we'll try to see what we can do. But I wanted to talk about one thing I saw on YouTube is this video that my man, shout out to Jay Goodwin, he sent me this video from I think dude's name Minister Jappa. It was real entertaining. He was talking some real shit in there. He was talking about Dr. Boyce Watkins, and for my experience on Dr. Boyce Watkins, it seems like he's been on the scene just talking about, uplifting the black community, trying to get at this money. They've been talking some shit or whatever, and, just from afar and just looking at from the outside of it, looked pretty solid. And I was like, okay, I salute that or whatever, respect, all that. And then I've also heard some things about Dr. Boyce Watkins that was like, he was like clout chasing, doing a whole bunch of stuff or whatever. I haven't really paid much attention to it because I'm like, everybody's got a story or whatever, so I don't really get too deep into it. But I saw this video one time and I never clicked on it, but I was like, I'm thinking it was like some broad that was saying that she was friendzoned by Boyce Watkins and some shit or whatever. So I never clicked on it or whatever, right? But my man sent me the video. He's like, man, you got to look at this video and check it out or whatever, right? So I started looking into it. I said, I'm going to check it out. Now, I don't really get into those 2-hour-long videos or whatever, but I was like, looking at the video, and it was grasping my attention from jump. So I'm like, let me watch this shit and let me, see what's going on. And so I'm looking at it, and dude is going in on Dr. Boyce Watkins, and he's like, yeah, this dude's a simp, and he was in the friend zone and all this stuff. So I'm like, what the hell is going on, and where is this coming from? Because I never heard about this shit before. And then I was just like, well, let me try to do my research, because I'm not going to go off of one man's video and take it as gospel. I'm just looking at the comments in there, and people were like going in and just like agreeing with it. And I'm like, I need the whole backstory to this shit or whatever, and see what's going on before I make a judgment and see what's going on. So I didn't even get full, like fully through his video when I stopped it. And I'm like, let me go ahead and look up Dr. Boyce Watkins, because apparently he just got married like recently or whatever, something like that. And congratulations to him. I'm married, you know what I mean? So I always salute black love or whatever. And you know what I mean, I would hope that men's goals are to get married at some point or whatever. And even if you don't get married, find happiness however that is. You know, as long as it's not violating any, you know, real man codes and shit like that or whatever. You know what I mean? Do you? You know what I mean? And I'll get into some of the specifics on what Minister Japs was talking about, because a lot of the shit that he was saying was facts. A lot of stuff I disagree with, or I think that he was trying to size it up or whatever, and try to make it up, you know, make it more entertaining than what it was. Because, like, you know, like I said, I'm not going to go off of one man's sayings or whatever. The real key is, some of the truth that you'll see is what people don't say. You'll find a lot of truth in what people don't say, and how they respond to shit, and what they don't respond with. So I'm looking on there, whatever. So I put a pause on the Minister Jap video, and I'm trying to look up Dr. Boyce Watkins and find out about his marriage and shit or whatever. So I'm seeing all these videos from Dr. Boyce Watkins or whatever. So I'm assuming, I'm trying to put two and two together. I'm like, how is this dude getting this information or whatever about Boyce Watkins and what's going on or whatever? Because I'm thinking that he heard it from some chick or whatever. But this shit came from Dr. Boyce Watkins' mouth himself. So it looks like he tries to be very transparent and, you know, talks a lot. Because again, I've just seen Boyce Watkins on just like random shows, just talking, you know, about economic wealth and building the black community up and shit like that. So I never saw him in that light where he was talking about, you know, other shit or whatever. You know what I mean? I've heard some shit, but I haven't really checked into it, because like I didn't really care for it to pay attention to it. So I'm seeing these videos from Dr. Boyce Watkins' channel, and one of the joints where he was talking about, the first thing I saw was the marriage proposal that he put up. And I'll get into that in a second. And I was like, all right, I saw that. And then I saw another video of him responding to Minister Jap. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I'm like, all right, I wanted to hear his side of it and see what he was going to say as far as like responding to what's true and what's not or whatever and all that. So I looked at the marriage proposal video, and it just looked weird. Now, I proposed to my wife, right? And I mean, every dude is gonna have their own different response or whatever, and feelings on excuse me, on how they're gonna propose. It's a big deal. And like, men, we don't have a how-to book on how to do certain shit. You feel what I'm saying? So you gonna go off of experience. You gonna see how one man did it, you know, and see like, okay, well, this might be a way I want to do it, or this dude did it this way, I'm gonna put my own twist on it. I didn't like the way this dude did it, I'm gonna do it my way, whatever, you know, whatever. So it was just weird to me to see the marriage proposal. I mean, I for one am not one of those people that want to do certain shit for public display or approval, right? So like, when I proposed to my wife, I did it, and I didn't really share the video. I didn't put it on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. And I did put the picture of, you know, like a screenshot of the video of me proposing, you know, and saying that she said yes or whatever, you know what I mean? So I was like, that's cool or whatever. But I never wanted to I didn't want to be one of those dudes that want to be out in the public at a restaurant, at a club, proposing to her in front of a whole bunch of people and all this stuff or whatever. So, you know what I mean, I just wasn't one of them types or whatever. But, you know, salute to people that want to do that. That's their own business. But it just seemed like he was real fucking corny with it. Like, you know what I mean? I've been in the streets. I could tell when a nigga got pussy and when he didn't, and how they move or whatever. It just seemed like he just didn't get no, like he doesn't get much pussy, hasn't had much pussy. He seemed like a virgin. He has virgin type of mannerisms, shit like that. And you know what I mean, he was talking this shit about the first time he met her, he was writing in a journal. Niggas don't write no journal, man. I don't know no niggas that do that shit. That's just weird to me. Just weird as fuck. Writing in a journal. Who the fuck you think you is, Doug? Like, that's weird. And I mean, he got on his knees and proposed and he was crying and all this shit or whatever. And I'm like, man, I like I said, this is a vulnerable situation, but I'm not crying on my knees or whatever with a fanny pack on and all this shit. It's just weird. And it just looked to me like she was just on some old, like, whatever type shit or whatever. You feel what I'm saying? So he did look like a simp, in my opinion, in that video, the marriage proposal, right? So it was just weird. So he was telling the story how they met or whatever, you know, at that place, and they knew each other for 20 years ago, whatever, whoop-de-whoop, all that shit. So I put that as a mental note, because I was like, all right, well, he gave a little bit of nugget on how they met and what was going on or whatever. Now, fast forward back to Minister Japs' video, because he was going in on him. He was just like, yeah, you've been in the friend zone. She did, you know, you tried to get at her, she friend zoned you, and you waited around for 20 years, and she didn't want you, and she came back to you after she did her thing and had 3 kids, and, you know what I mean, you sat around and waited, and then, you know, you leveled up and whatever, she came back, and then bam, now you married or whatever, right? Which, when he was describing the situation, was crazy, and that is not something that I would advise people to do, because that just is, it's crazy. And like I said, you can go and look at the Minister Japs video. It's called Surviving the Friend Zone, Dr. Boyce Watkins, something like that. He was talking some shit in there. So I'm like, all right, well, I wanted to get some more information about this, his wife or whatever, and this, what was the situation with the kids, because he was saying, Mr. Japs, and that's one of the things that I did disagree with Minister Japs. He was saying, like, when he tried to size it up, he was like, yeah, you came back with like fresh toddlers or whatever. So I'm thinking that she just had some kids like 1-2 years ago, broke up with the nigga, and then, you know, came at Boyce, and he was like, I'll save you. You feel what I'm saying? But just looking at the kids, they don't look like, they're not toddlers. They're like, you know, younger kids, like under 10 or some shit like that or whatever. You know, I have my feelings on it or whatever. I mean, personally, I never wanted to be with a woman that had kids. I did not have kids. So I did not want to be a stepfather. I have friends that are. Everybody's got a different situation. There are certain situations where, like, you know, things happen or whatever, and, you know, like a dude had kids from previous marriage, and she got kids from previous marriage. Both of y'all got kids from previous marriage. So it's like, all right, well, you know, it's not that big of a deal when you got kids. You know what I mean? Or, you know, if she was widowed or something like that. You know what I mean? Every situation is different. You know what I mean? Where it's not no issue where you got to deal with the baby daddy or whatever the case may be. To each his own. But me personally, I would not deal with a woman that had kids, seeing as I was a single man out in the streets doing my things, you know, pretty successful and independent, doing what I was doing with no kids. So that wasn't something that I wanted to do. And I was younger too, so like that was just me, right? But Boyce was like saying, like, it was just too much going on, man. It was way too much going on, and it was just weird to me. So I was like, I really had to sit down and break this down. Like, I even had to write points down to get all this out. So Minister Japs was sizing it. You know, he didn't have kids that were fresh toddlers or whatever. I still don't know the situation of what happened with her ex or whatever, if it's true that, you know what I mean, she was running through all these dudes or whatever, like, women gonna do what they do, whatever, you feel what I'm saying? And I'm not opposed to like reconnecting with someone that you used to deal with before. Me and my wife, we used to mess around or whatever when we were, out in the streets or whatever, when we was younger, whatever. And then we went our separate ways, and there was no love lost, but we went our separate ways. And I was like, all right, well, I'm looking for, something a little bit more stable, whatever. And I could tell she wasn't. And I made the decision to be with somebody else at the time, which we ended up breaking up. And then, as years passed, I'm out here in the streets or whatever. And then we kind of reconnected. And then we, did a check on each other, whatever. And it was like, oh, yeah, you doing this. You ain't got no kids, whatever, whoop-de-whoop. Okay, cool. And then we reconnected and, things went where it was. So I was lucky. It usually doesn't happen that way, right? So I'm not mad at him for reconnecting with this woman or whatever, but I know one thing for sure. I'm not going to be sitting around waiting for this broad or whatever. Like, oh, I can't wait. You're my crush, and I'm going to sit here and wait for you. And if anything happens, I'm going to drop everything for you, and we're going to reconnect. And no, we're not doing that. Like, I know my value. My value is way too high to be waiting on any woman. And for me to drop what I'm doing or whatever, even if I was just like, oh, I'm just fucking bitches or whatever, until you ready, and then I'm gonna stop because you ready. No, we're not doing that. So the misconception of them being able to reconnect, is no problem with that. But if you sitting around waiting in the friend zone, that's a problem, right? So I wanted to hear the whole story about that. So I was still under investigation with that shit. So we got the Tyler thing out the way. I don't know her story or whatever, as far as who she was with before, how recent she divorced or broke up with her baby father or ex-husband or whoever the fuck. But apparently it didn't work out or whatever. So whatever. I did see one video later on when just trying to dig and see what was going on. But apparently they connected during the pandemic, and that's looked like she was lonely from what I see, because she looked like she one of them gypsies too, whatever. I ain't gonna lie, but it seemed like she was bored and lonely. She ain't had nothing lined up or whatever, and shit just worked out like, oh, well, I ain't got nothing else to do, so let me hook up with this nigga. That's what it looked like to me, but whatever. So they got the proposal thing or whatever, and so I'm going through Minister Japs' video, so he's talking all this shit or whatever about him or whatever. So, like, for the most part, I agree with what he was saying, right? So I said, let me fact check Dr. Boyce Watkins and see what the fuck he got to say, and I'll be able to make a decision on what the issues is, who's right, who's wrong, and how we need to be telling these little niggas out here now how to move, right? So I go on Dr. Boyce Watkins' video. So first thing I look already from the jump or whatever, I'm looking at the dislikes on the comments. Dislikes is way more than the likes, right? So I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck is this gonna be about, right? So I'm getting on there and I'm hearing him, he talking wild, simp, crazy nigga shit. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit going on? A lot of the shit he was doing, he was deflected. Now, I understand when you rambling and you like lose your train of thought and you like, you be talking about shit and get sidetracked. But I could tell that he was intentionally trying to deceive and take your mind off of the main subject at hand. He was talking about a whole bunch of other shit that just ain't had nothing to do with shit. I wrote this shit down so I don't get super sidetracked. So now I'm really about to go in specifically on what the fuck this nigga Dr. Boyce Watkins was talking about and why I disagree with a lot of shit that he's talking about and how the fuck he's moving. And he was saying that he had joined the Minister Japs live chat or whatever. He was trying to join in and whatever and debate with the nigga and all that shit or whatever, right? And this was his form of a rebuttal, right, on how the nigga was. He tried to say he was cooning or coonsplaining or whatever. There was nothing coonish about what Minister Jap was talking about. And then he was just saying, like, he keeps on trying to equate shit to like white supremacy and how we falling into this trap or whatever and all this shit, right? So I caught him. So I'm gonna call him out on this shit, right? So first thing that I caught when I was reviewing Dr. Boyce Watkins' Friendzone response video, He admits that he had a kid as well. He had a kid when he was 18 years old in high school with his first love, right? And it's not in order on how I heard the shit, but I wrote the shit down the way that I wrote it. He said that he had a kid 18 years old. He kind of brushed that shit under the rug, said it real quick, and then moved on to something else. One thing that I noticed based off of his videos, and I don't really get on Instagram because I think that's gypsy nigga shit. And what I mean about gypsy shit is just you trying to get a bunch of attention from people, like them gypsy fortune teller motherfuckers that be like, here ye come to me, I know the future, and I'm trying to get attention to this business that I'm doing that's a scam, and that's gypsy shit to me. So a lot of the shit that people be trying to do is put on a facade, a front, and you doing it for attention and all that shit or whatever. That's gypsy shit to me, right? So I don't really do Instagram like that because it's just bullshit. I don't like that shit. But just doing my investigation and background checking, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I missed it. I didn't see anything about his 31-year-old child, because if I did my math, he's 49. He had a child at 18. Let me just do it. I'm gonna write it down again because again, I'm bad at math. 31. It's a 31-year-old child. Now, 31's an adult, grown woman. That's a daughter, right? Well, I don't know. He could be lying. I don't know. But 31-year-old child. Even that person being an adult, I haven't seen him talk about his daughter or whatever, or like take any pictures, many pictures, and how open he is with fucking being out there, whatever, transparent about his new marriage and his new kids. Now, haven't really seen any pictures about your 31-year-old daughter. Now, maybe you might be I don't know why you be trying to protect her or him, but it's just weird to me, in my opinion. But he brushed it under the rug. Another thing he brushed under the rug is he was saying it didn't work out with his baby mother. What's going on with her? What's the situation with that? I mean, you seem like a very open book person or whatever. You respond to comments pretty quickly, so why don't you talk about that? Even if it's a situation where you made a mistake on your end, why don't you talk about that and give advice on how you rectified the situation? But it just seemed like you're just brushing it under the rug. That was one thing that I caught. Another thing I caught, and this was the first thing he talked about, he talked real bad about his biological father. Now, you weren't there, and you don't know what your situation was going on with your father during that time period or whatever, so you can only go off what people tell you. Now, I'm not saying that your father wasn't a bad man, I'm not saying that, but you don't know, like, you just painting it like he was a horrible person. You don't know what the situation was, and I think it's just crazy to just speak ill about your father that way, because that's a hypocrisy in itself when you're talking about building the black community up or whatever. Instead of you bashing him, why don't you try to repair the situation, or again use it as a learning experience, instead of saying, oh well, he's a bitch ass nigga, he ain't shit, whatever, whoop or whatever. That's just crazy, and it's just teaching men that have had issues with their fathers or haven't had their father in their life to not forgive or understand what was going on or whatever, and how to move forward and learn from it. You just teaching them, hey, if your father ain't shit, bash him down. Or you teaching these women out here, and like, oh, this is how you avoid a nigga like that. And you were talking like a scorned woman. Like, you just kept talking about how many hoes he was with and how much he stuck his penis in all these vaginas. Like, niggas don't talk like that, bro. Niggas don't talk like that. Females talk like that. That was very fucking weird. And you kept on saying shit like weak ass men or whatever. Like, but then you try to define a strong man or a definition of a sturdy man. And you talked about your stepfather. And you said that he was a real sturdy man or whatever. The reason why you said he was a sturdy man, and it was 2 points that you said, and I wrote it down. You said that he killed people. How is that? Just because you're a killer does not mean that you're a sturdy man. Just because you were in the army and you kill people does not mean that you're a sturdy man. That's ridiculous. Like, it's a lot of niggas that are killers out here, whatever. Doesn't mean that you're a sturdy man. So now you're basically saying you're a real sturdy man if you are a murderer. If you killed the nigga, it's stupid. But you talking about building up the black community and all this shit. Whatever. And then you say when he was in Vietnam, he was strung on heroin. So he was a junkie. He was a drug addict. And he was a real sturdy man. And you salute to him for getting over his demons and getting out of that or whatever. But you said how he got over it was he just found a way and got it done. That's not real solid advice on how to be a sturdy man. And you didn't talk about how, if he's a sturdy man, how he fell for that trap or how he fell into drugs. Sturdy men don't do that. I mean, people make mistakes, but again, you didn't talk about how he had a weak ass man moment. If he fell into a vice and got addicted, you didn't talk about that. But you just defined it and left it at, oh well, he's a sturdy man because he killed people and he was a junkie and he got over it, and then you just moved on and you just blow by that. But that's just crazy. So that was another point I wrote down. So now we get into the friend zone part. Now I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt, right? I didn't know this whole story, so I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt on what your words were and what you said as truth. You said that it was false that you were rejected, because that was one of Ms. Japs' points, that how are you going to openly receive a woman that rejected you initially? You tried to get off on a technicality because you said technically I didn't get rejected. Technically I didn't get rejected. She never rejected me. You tried to say that you rejected her. Which was bullshit. But what you're trying to say, and you said it in a very slick way, and I picked up on it, was that you volunteered yourself to be in the friend zone. When you first met her, she was so gorgeous and so beautiful, whatever, but you never pursued her and you just wanted to pursue a friendship with her, which I think is weird as fuck. I've been in the streets. Now, do I have female friends? Yes, like co-workers and like whatever the case may be, we just end up being friends or whatever. Whoop-de-whoop. I've never met a woman that I'm like, she's the most beautiful woman in the world, she's my crush, but I just decided I want to be friends with her. What a real man that was out in the streets, that was getting pussy and out here doing this thing would have done is, if you see, and this ain't got nothing to do with pussy, honestly, like I talk to niggas that be talking about relationships, marriage, whatever. If you, as a man, that's what we're supposed to do. If you see something that you want to try to go achieve it and get it. We are the pursuers. We are the dominant ones that try to go after it. As far as relationships with women or whatever, and it'll be situations where a girl's gonna come up to you, whatever, and you're like, okay, whatever, but that's not the norm. We're the ones that will be approaching women or whatever. So it doesn't make much sense for me to comprehend how you feel that she was a crush, but you never pursued her because you were shy. That's what you said. But you wanted to be her friend. Why would you want to be her friend? Why would you just say, okay, like you were that shy that you felt comfortable being in a friend zone or wanting to be her friend, and hopefully it organically just turned into something or whatever. And she probably would have friend zoned you anyway. If you would approach her, she probably would have been like, fuck out of here, whatever. So, but you were trying to get off on this technicality that she didn't reject you. So, technically she didn't reject you, but you put yourself in the position where you let her off the hook not to reject you. And it's weird as fuck. And I would advise young men and older men, which is surprising to me that some of these older dudes don't know this shit. And then what happens is when these young dudes try to get advice, they lean on, oh, this is an older dude, he know what he talking about or whatever. This is how you need to move. So, hey, if Dr. Boyce Watkins says you need to be friends with a person, be in a friend zone, maybe that's the right thing to do. Fuck no. A lot of these older niggas are just old. They ain't got no wisdom. There's a difference between being old and just being a fool and being old and having wisdom. And I caution a lot of younger dudes, don't listen to a older person just because they're old. Listen to them, question and shit, ask follow-up questions. Don't just take their word for it or whatever. Do your own investigation and see what the fuck is going on or whatever, if it matches up. So I would advise young men to not follow that friend zone path. If you want somebody, go after them. And if it don't work out, then it just don't work out, because you're going to waste your time missing out on all these other chicks out here waiting on one person. It's just stupid. It just doesn't make much sense. So, yeah, I wrote down that you volunteered to be friend zone, bro. That's weird as fuck. And now I want to know some follow-up questions, like, why were you uncomfortable trying to approach her? You said that you were shy, but why is it all of a sudden that you were uncomfortable to approach her initially, but she was so beautiful, you wrote in your fucking journal, whatever. And what changed about her now that made you want to pursue all of a sudden? If you were the one that pursued her, she probably came to you, but why is it that, what changed from her earlier when y'all was in college to now in 2020 that it was like, oh, now I feel confident enough that I'm going to approach her and try to pursue a serious relationship outside of friendship? Just a thought question, a rhetorical question. Then you start going off on this tangent about weak ass men sticking their dick in women, and too many women equals more problems, which is some bullshit. And it's hypocrisy, because you go all over the place. Like, you were talking some shit that was just like, it ain't had nothing to do with nothing. You talking about rape and Cardi B, all these women, you gonna go up in a hotel and meet the wrong one and they're gonna rape you. How do you know about this? Did somebody drug you and try to rape you and all this shit? You just hearing about shit. Now, the point that you did make that I agree with about, like, people trying to put charges on you, like, gypsies will come up and be like, yeah, well, this shit happened and it really didn't happen, just trying to make a buck or whatever. But you made a point about sexual discipline. You do have to have sexual discipline. So if you have sexual discipline, how would it be a problem if you have too many women, which doesn't make any sense? How would that be a problem if you have sexual discipline? If you're honest and open and upfront with these women or whatever, like, you know what it is or whatever, are you signing up for this, yes or no? That's sexual discipline. And if that's what it is, then it's fine. You don't have to force yourself on nobody. You don't have to play no tricks on nobody. Don't care if you got 1,000 women and they know that you got 1,000 women and they know their place and they know their role. There's no problem with that. That's what I would be trying to teach, not this old, don't mess with these bras, because if you have too many women, it'd be too many problems and you can't just stick your dick in any old woman or whatever. All this shit. Like, it's just fucking, it's fucking weird. It's fucking weird. Then you had made a point. I put a star on because this was some slick shit. You said you have to be strategic when marrying or dealing with women, strategic in a white supremacist society. And he said it would go over people's head. I caught it. So basically what you're saying is that if you get to a certain point in status, or you want to achieve a certain point in status, you can't be a single black man. That's exactly what you mean. And that you saying that you have to be strategic, in those boardrooms or corporate society or whatever, where, like, you want to move ahead, you have to have a wife, whether you love her or not. You need her. That's what I took from it. Maybe I'm wrong, but you didn't elaborate on it, so that's what I'm going to get from it. So who knows? This might be a power play for you and this woman. And if that's what you want to do, then by all means, have at it. But I would not suggest that. I would suggest that be strategic in your choices, as far as, like, finding the right partner for the right reasons, not for the right reasons. I'll just leave it at that. Then he just goes and he just deflects a lot. He goes on rants to try to make you forget the main point, which I said before. Then you said be thoughtful about how you use your power, which I agree with. And that goes back to being honest, upfront, having sexual discipline. So you are right. You should be thoughtful on how you use your power, and you realize that men have the power. So I would suggest that men stop giving up your power when it comes to these relationships, when you're out in the streets just dating, fucking, you know what I mean, or marriage, because we do have the power. So you are right on that. You said you didn't want to get married into your 20s or your 30s, but you proposed. All right, so this was one of the things that really, really bothered me. You said that you didn't want to get married in your 20s and 30s. I get that or whatever, but it just seems like you weren't like out there in the streets, so I could see a person like wanting to sow their royal oats or whatever and do their thing, get out their system before they settle down. You didn't seem like that. You just seemed like, because ain't no way that you was initially shy enough to be in the friend zone, but then you just out big pimping, spinning cheese and fucking all these bras or whatever. Meanwhile, you're still in the friend zone with this one person or whatever, and then you gonna wait till you 49 and be like, oh, I'm ready to settle down and I'm ready to get married. Fuck out of here with that bullshit. But you had made one point, whatever, like in the middle of like you didn't want to look like you were a simp and you were a virgin, and you had to throw out there like, oh yeah, I was really talking, digging this one chick or whatever that was in my 30s or whatever, something like that. That I proposed to her. I was dealing with her, and I proposed to her on the Wendy Williams show. I couldn't find the video. I proposed to her on the Wendy Williams show, but it didn't work out because she was a 7-day Adventist, and it's always issues with religion and all this shit or whatever. And then you went on this tangent about religion, and which was crazy. This one hit home for me because I remember one time I was out in the streets or whatever, you know what I mean? I don't know where I met this broad at. Might have been on like one of them little apps or whatever, like Plenty of Fish or something like that. I don't know. Or I might have met her out in the club. I don't remember where I met this broad from. But I remember meeting this broad, and you know what I mean, I was pretty honest and up front or whatever. Now it'd be times where I'm like, yeah, I want to slide through, whatever, come chill with you, whatever, right? So that was always my shit, was like, all right, I'm gonna come through there, try to chill, make my move, whatever, whoop-de-whoop. So I go over to this chick's house. Now I don't know shit about her other than she look good or whatever, you know what I mean? I'm gonna try to, put my bid in the fuck. So I go over to this broad house. Now it was weird because it was like, we go over there and it's me and then her, and then she had her cousin or one of her little family members with her or whatever. Like, she was like in her 20s or something like that or whatever, like there, like with us, just chilling. So it was like some third party shit. So I was like, all right, so this ain't nothing about to be happening or whatever. So I'm like, well, look, I'm about to see how this goes or whatever and all that. One of the things that struck out to me, whatever, I remember before I went over there, I had stopped over and went to Long John Silver and got some food, right? So I got the little, Long John Silver used to be popping, man. I'm mad that they closed that shit down out here in DC. But I went and had some Long John Silver and I brought it with me. So I was like, all right, let me bring this food in here with me. I'm gonna eat while I'm talking to the broad or whatever, see what's going on. And I was like, all right, well, this broad's over here with her cousin. This shit ain't about to last too long or whatever. So I'm up here lining shit up for plan B and plan C, because I was like, ain't nothing about to happen with this or whatever. So I said, let me go ahead and try to see if I can line something up with me and her on a solo later on or whatever, right? First thing that popped in my mind, like, we talking or whatever. So her cousins and the girls like really on me about this Long John Silver food or whatever. And they was like, how can you eat Long John Silver? That's bad or whatever. And I'm like, what you mean? What's wrong with Long John Silver? She's like, how could you eat a fish or a creature of the sea or whatever? They're living, breathing animals or whatever. And I was like, what you talking about? And they was like, yeah, we're a pescatarian or whatever. And that was the first time I ever heard that term. And she's like, yeah, because we're Seventh-day Adventists and we don't do that. We don't eat living animals or whatever. So all I knew about was vegetarians. They don't eat meat. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm like, Presbyterian? She's like, what's that mean? She's like, yeah, we don't eat seafood, any living creature or whatever. I was like, oh wow, that's crazy, whatever. And I was like, Seventh-day Adventists, I've heard of it, I've seen the churches around, I didn't know what their deal was or whatever. So I was like, well, what is it? So I'm trying to get more information about it or whatever. Mind you, this is the first time, we ain't been on no date, this is the first time I'm talking to this broad or whatever. So she's like, yeah, we are strict Christians or whatever, might be paraphrasing, but like strict Christians, and we go to we believe the Sabbath was on Saturday or whatever. So I met the broad on Friday. I went over her house on a Friday. So she was like, yeah, whoop, whatever. So I was like, I'm learning some shit or whatever. So I was like, wow, that shit's crazy, whatever, right? Now I could just see this, the look in their eyes. They just look real off and real crazy, whatever, right? It was like some old, one of the points you say about the cults and shit or whatever, right? Like something like that or whatever, right? And this looked like they was in a cult, like they was hypnotized or some shit like this. So I was like, this shit weird, bro. So they was just really on me about shit that was going on, like how my life was and how it didn't match up with theirs and shit or whatever. So I was just like, at this point, I was like kind of checked out, but I like debating with people, whatever. So I'm rapping to her, talking to her, whatever. I'm just like going back and forth or whatever, whoop-de-whoop. So then I'm like, all right, I had enough of this shit or whatever. So I was like, I'm not about to fuck. I'm clearly not about to be fucking. So I was like, cut this shit off or whatever. And I said, from that day on, I ain't messing with no more 7-day Adventists ever in my life, ever. You feel what I'm saying? Because she was trying to convert me over. I'm like, yeah, you should. So, my bad, push wrong button. You should go to church with us. And I went to Hawaii with my wife a couple years ago. We accidentally visited one of those churches or whatever. We didn't know it was church. We was just like, sightseeing, and we ran into some 7-day Adventists, and I was like, it was on that same crazy shit. So I was telling, man, the motherfuckers is crazy, in my opinion. You know what I mean? But you had said some shit or whatever. You was like, you was dealing with a 7-day Adventist, and you proposed to her, and you said it didn't work out because of the religion and the beliefs or whatever. Bro, how in the fuck does that happen? I know you're lying. And I know for a fact that, let's just take the 7 Adventist thing out the equation. Let's say you're a Christian. You meet a woman that's Muslim. Ain't no fucking way that that's going to work out. And you're going to know that she's a Muslim and her beliefs or whatever, even if she try to keep it from you, and you be like, hey, you want a bacon sandwich? She's not going to eat it, and you're going to be like, why you don't want to eat bacon or whatever, and you're going to learn that, like, oh, well, this is my beliefs and religion. Y'all going to be together. What you think they was going to be doing when they had to go to church? You probably had to go to church with them, or like if it's a Sunday or Saturday and they're not there, you should notice a difference. So how is it that you've been with this person that long and you proposed to her but didn't know that she was a 7-day Adventist, but then it didn't work out because y'all had different religions? So you mean to tell me you didn't know her religion when y'all first started dealing with each other? That's a fucking lie. And you was trying to lie to Cat, like you was like, oh yeah, I was out in the streets and I met women, I had my opportunities in me, but it just didn't work out because of religion. That's some bullshit. Bullshit. Now, that ain't it. And I wish you would try to rebuttal that shit. But you breeze right by that and just start talking on this tangent about the Catholic Church and all this shit, and the Mormon churches. And you said, I didn't watch your wedding video. I don't care about that shit. I didn't want to watch it because I was already disturbed by your simp ass proposal video. So I was like, that shit made my skin crawl. I didn't want to watch any more of it. But you said in your video, when you married your wife and her vows, you said she didn't know that you were interested, and you were just happy being her friend. Weird. And that's a lie. There's no fucking way that she didn't know that you were interested in her. And again, I don't know what the extent of y'all friendship were, but bro, stop it. That's bullshit. She didn't want you. And now all of a sudden it just lined up for her to be interested in you now, and that's all it is. The other thing that I saw in the Minister Jap video, you said, he was saying that I hope he signed a prenup, whoop-de-whoop or whatever. I'm going to get into that, because you said you did sign a prenup. I want to know why you signed a prenup, because clearly you seem like a simp-ass nigga. You going to give her the world plus more any fucking way. I forget who it was. It might have been Kevin Samuel was saying that women majority of the time will initiate a divorce, which is true, in my opinion. And you were saying that she's not a gold digger or whatever, because that's what when Minister Jack was saying, that she's trying to come up off of you, whatever. You were saying she's not a gold digger. She has her own or whatever, whoop-de-whoop or whatever. She has her own assets, all that, and you signed a prenup to protect that asset. So if you got more money than her, If you got more money than her and you're not worried about her being a gold digger, she has her own, why even sign a prenup? If you're not worried about her taking your shit because she has her own, that's a contradiction in itself. So you keep on trying to drive this point home that she's not a gold digger. And I don't know her, she might not be, whatever, you feel what I'm saying? But if that was the case, why sign a prenup? If she has her own, she don't need your shit. And I'm not saying that, things happen where you can have a divorce or whatever, things don't work out or whatever, but if you believe in your heart of hearts that she's not coming for your shit, why sign a prenup? You're already going to give her the world plus anyway. You're going to overpay for what you need to do anyway, because it just seems like you are more, and you seem like the female in this relationship. You seem more interested in being married than she does. She's reaping the benefits from it, which she did say in one of her videos when she was talking about how you had all these acres of land and how she had to sell that as a point for her children, on how this would be a benefit for them. So I'm just confused about the prenup thing, because you making it seem, you keep flip-flopping, you keep making it seem like you aren't that guy that's like on some, I'm a pimp and all these hoes, whatever, but you trying to seem like you not super vulnerable, like you flip-flop, like you like, oh, I'm so in love, black love, all this, but I'm a real nigga. I know these hoes. I keep my hoes in check. And it seemed like you flip-flopping and trying to save face, and it's just weird. You're doing too much. That's what a lot of dudes that don't get no pussy try to do. They try to overcompensate and try to mask so people won't tease them, like, yeah, you fucking moving wrong or whatever. And they come up with these lies and shit, and these exaggerated stories, and it's just all over the place. I wrote some more down for him. We almost done. You did acknowledge that simping does exist, so you know what it is. You didn't elaborate on what that looks like. So clearly you know that simping does exist. So again, that goes back to my point on how you be trying to make shit seem like you're not simping in some instances by signing a prenup. Oh, I would be a simp if I ain't signing no prenup, but you are a simp by the actions that you're doing while you're married or trying to pursue marriage with this woman. But you're trying to protect yourself if shit don't work out, because you have a feeling it might not work out. Just a thought. You go into this point about the men who roar the most, the loudest, are insecure from mothers and ex-girlfriends or whatever. There's some points to that I agree with and disagree with. I think men are shaped on how they want to approach women by how they see their mother being treated, or how their mother treated them, or by an early ex-girlfriend. I think that's clear. Again, there's no how to be a man, how to treat a woman book or training for men. We learn by experience. So, me, from my experience or whatever, like I was raised by a single mother. So I was always like, oh man, my mother's a good woman or whatever. I want to be in love and treat my woman the way I would want my mother to be treated or whatever. And then, you're younger, and then you have ex-girlfriend that does you wrong or whatever, and it's like, fuck. Yeah, you don't want that vulnerability. You don't want to get taken advantage of or whatever. Some dudes learn differently. Some dudes pick it up quicker to, yes, protect yourself from being involved. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, some people take it over the top and like, I'm never getting married in life or whatever, and don't leave yourself some flexibility, whatever. Where I think you should, if you're moving in the streets, you have to be flexible. Where you want to have an end goal to be like, yes, you want to have black love and find someone eventually, whatever. But also, too, you don't want to, you're going to have to move accordingly in these streets where, you're going to have a lot of girls that are trying to take advantage of you, and you're going to have to take advantage of them or get what you want out of them before they get more out of you. I think that's just normal. There's nothing wrong with that. Not saying that you have to downgrade them or, do them wrong, but like, if you out here and just looking for sex, that's all you trying to get. You're going to try to minimize what you are outputting to get it. It's pretty simple. I don't see nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that, you gotta be out here slapping bitches and doing this and doing all that, but you don't need to be taken advantage of and be a sugar daddy and being a simp and taking women out on dates that ain't really interested in you just for some pussy. That's how you get into Dr. Boyce Watkins lane. And he wanted to avoid it because you said, like, oh, I meet pretty women all the time and I just avoid them and whatever, whoop-de-whoop or whatever. And I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's fine, whatever. But I would not suggest it for the young man. I'd rather you get out of the system, because one thing I did not want to be is one of these old married niggas that ain't lived life and done everything that I wanted to do, and then be like out here creeping on my wife or whatever because I'm still horny. I ain't done what I wanted to do and I'm lusting over these bitches out here. Like, I've been there, done everything I wanted to do, and now I'm retired. Like I said, I'm loving being on the porch. So, well, fuck what he talking about or whatever. He just one of them old virgin ass niggas, and that's all that is. But yeah, then you were talking about like your pro-black community and pro-family. Another contradiction. Like, I'm all for that or whatever, and you can be pro-black and pro-family without having stepkids. But that does not mean that the man should be villainized for not wanting to take care of somebody else's kids, especially if he is single. And we're not fulfilling white supremacy because we out here like being single and fucking. That's crazy. What the problem is a lot of these women are having babies by these men and nobody holding them accountable. And that's been said over and over again. But if you were so pro-black and pro-family, why didn't you make your relationship with your first baby mother and your daughter stronger and repair that relationship? And then you said some shit about niggas being selfish and shit like that or whatever. But you said that you didn't want to change diapers and you didn't want to have younger kids or whatever. But you're saying that you're willing to take care of other people's kids and help community, and somebody's going to college, like older kids or whatever and shit like that, which is fine. Start your own foundation or some shit like that, and I have no problem with that or whatever. But again, you're saying it like a single man should be villainized for not wanting to be a stepfather, but yet you said yourself that you didn't want the burden of having to change diapers and dealing with a young kid or whatever. Don't you think that's a little bit selfish? And calling a young baby that's your own a burden and raising them from the ground up, that's a burden. But me being a single man dealing with women with kids is not, it's selfish of me to be like, yeah, I don't want to do that. And that's not a burden to deal with 3 different kids that's not mine's. That's not a burden. But raising your own children from birth and changing diapers is a burden, and it's not selfish. That's a contradiction, and that's bullshit. Another thing I caught you out on. And again, my last point was you keep saying that she has her own all this shit or whatever and all that. So why do you feel the need to step in as a savior for these kids monetarily and all this shit or whatever? Like, I don't know what the story is with the baby father. Don't know, because y'all don't want to say that. Y'all like to be transparent but don't want to tell that story. But if she has her own and she's adopted, she's accomplished, why does she need you and your money and all this shit to take care of them kids? That just don't make much sense. It looks like simpish behavior to me. So I would challenge, if you seeing this video or people who have comments on what I'm putting up, please put in the comments whatever, and I welcome a rebuttal video to all my points. And again, I'm disappointed in the videos I saw of Boyce Watkins. I'm disappointed in the moves that he's making. It's sad. And I ain't even gonna get into the whole how you were responding to people when you were on y'all got married and whatever, and y'all supposed to be on a honeymoon. You responding to people and responding to Kwame Brown and shit like that on your honeymoon, and how she take her own girls trip after a week after y'all got married. That shit weird, man. But like I said, you want to do what you want to do, man. That's fine, man. But stop trying to villainize these black men out here and trying to make them like you. There's always exceptions to a rule, bro, but don't be trying to make it seem like because niggas is out here living life and doing what we doing, we the villains. But when women out here doing what they want to do and having babies and reproducing because they have the last say so on if they have a child or not, you ain't saying nothing to them. And then your wife, she thinks she's slick trying to come at Kevin Samuels talking about it's okay, you can find love with kids and da-da-da, Kevin Samuels is wrong. Bullshit. Like I said, this is real wisdom from the porch. I'm putting this up on YouTube on the new channel. There's gonna be more topics to come. I'm gonna get into a lot of this shit on how these niggas is out here simping. A lot of these motherfucking niggas is out here moving wrong. And I'm gonna start putting out content for the real niggas to respect this shit and pass this shit along to these young niggas, because it's a lot of bad shit out here going on, man, and we just need to correct it, man, because, you know what I mean, I want to reduce some of these young girls out here doing this dumb gypsy shit, and I want to reduce a lot of these young niggas out here doing gypsy shit as well and falling for this gypsy shit, because at the end of the day, men do have the power. We do have the say so on what we do and what we're going to stand for. And if you giving away your power, man, you making it worse for the next nigga and the next nigga after that, and then it just repeats as a bad cycle, man. So that's all I got to say, man. I mean, you know, try to keep it under an hour. I wanted to keep it 30 minutes, but it was just a lot of shit. So it's your boy Mike Malarkey, aka King Moses, man, live from the porch, man, signing off, man.